About a decade ago, I recorded something on SoundCloud, and this segment has been preserved. I think it still can be found on YouTube. I'll try to find it and link to it. The title of it is Alt-Right Myths. And this was, again, like a decade ago. Like, I think it was 2015 or thereabouts when I recorded this. And I talked about three things that people who called themselves alt-right, which was the thing to do at the time. This was before alt-right, the term alt-right became so abused and was eventually just jettisoned. And now people who basically are unreconstructed alt-righters just don't call themselves alt-right anymore. But I in that segment, which became a video, I talked about three things that I believed alt-right types tended to believe that I thought were not true, and I was wanting to register those three things. And now, a decade later on, I've become more immersed in the so-called conspiracy movement or mindset, and I'm not ashamed at all to call myself a conspiracy theorist, or rather a conspiracy realist. But I do think there are certain things that people with this habit of mind do that are sometimes just off, are not sound as far as presuppositions. So just like I was just the same with the same attitude that I recorded that video about alt-right myths as somebody who was ostensibly a part of the alt-right scene back then and sympathetic to the alt-right. Today, as somebody who is sympathetic to conspiracy, to for lack of a better word, the conspiracy theorist community, I want to talk about certain things that I think conspiracy theorists could stand to do a bit less of. All right. The first thing, the number one thing that I think that comes to mind is this sort of this belief that everybody is a tranny, that if anyone and any woman who's out there, in Hollywood, who is thought to be beautiful, who is thought to be sexy, who is held up as a exemplar of feminine beauty. The tendency is, and it seems like the tendency is much more this way with women than with men. I don't really hear as much, men being called women, but I do hear often, a woman who is generally thought of as attractive. The people saying, "Oh, well, look at her. Look at how narrow her hips are. Look at how broad her shoulders are. Look at look at how small her breasts are. Look, she moves like a man here. She's got a lower, her voice is on the lower part of the register. Or here's where she betrays what her real voice is, or what her real voice is, and so forth and so on." Now, this isn't to say that every time there is a suspected man pretending to be a woman in the public eye that's a matter of conspiracy theorizing getting out of hand, because I strongly suspect in at least a couple of cases that a good case can be built, and I'm not going to name them, but I think you know who I mean. Two prominent women the political scene generally, who might well be men. Uh, but I think that this whole going by, oh well, this person looks this way, um, you know, or has this feature or that feature, and so obviously she's actually a man, like the Austin Powers thing where he jumps on this sort of fat frumpy woman and says, "That's not your mother, that's a man, baby," uh, because she isn't very attractive. She's kind of mannish looking, but it's still a woman. It's just an older, fatter, not very attractive woman. I think if you just go through your normal life and think about people that you see on the street or wherever, in normal life, or people neighbors, people that you just see in casual situations, you'll notice that there are men who don't have the full manly kind of look. Not all men are square chested and or square jawed, rather square jawed and broad shouldered and not everybody just exudes masculinity to the nth degree. That doesn't mean that they aren't men. And to the same by the same token, a lot of the women that you see, they might not have typical feminine features in some ways, but there's a diversity within the group of people called men, and within the group of people that are called women, within the group of people who are men, that is to say, have male genitalia. That's how we define what a man is. Controversy in our time, but love it or leave it. And a woman is someone who's born with female genitalia, and you can see that if you look at women generally, there's going to be a lot of them who don't have completely feminine features. And there's going to be a lot of men who don't have all masculine features. That doesn't mean that they aren't who they're pretending to be. And I can understand why in Hollywood and places like that, where there's a lot that goes on that's nefarious, and there's a lot of lies that we're being told. I get having some suspicion. I just think it gets out of hand. I'm tired of like every actress being like comment after comment, she's a man, that's let's do a transvestigation of this woman. I just think that's gotten out of hand. So that's the first thing I would say conspiracy theorists could stand to maybe cool it on a little bit. Okay, number 2 thing that I think maybe conspiracy theorists could just pump the brakes on a little bit, is, I don't know why this irritates me so much, but it always does. It always irritates me when it's like there's always this idea that when there's a news story, when some news story comes out and then something else happens after it, then it's like, oh, this is an artificial story. The second story they put out is an artificial story. They're just trying to take attention away from the real story, which is the first story. They're trying to get that first story out of the news. Like everything is being orchestrated. And yes, in the news, a lot is being orchestrated. And again, the news is just like the news as far as the TV news or corporate media is just like Hollywood. A lot of it's not real. Definitely should be taken with not just a grain of salt, with a whole shaker of salt. maybe several shakers of salt. But still, there's just this kind of, I tire of this like smug certainty, that, for example, I heard somebody the other day actually say this. Uh, he was claiming that the Epstein story was never real, has never been real. It's always just been a controlled story that's being put out there to distract us. And he was claiming that when Pizzagate broke, that the powers that be decided, oh well, we can't let people focus on Pizzagate, so let's instead make them focus on this bogus story about Jeffrey Epstein, taking underage girls to islands and having various luminaries go there and statutorily rape these girls, and get massages from them and all that. Like, he was actually claiming, he actually said that the entire Epstein story was just something that was put out there to distract attention from Pizzagate. And I knew for a fact that wasn't true, because the Epstein story was around years before Pizzagate broke. Years before it. And yet this guy was saying this with so much conviction, and so much certainty, I get going with your gut, but maybe mitigate that a little bit. Like, go with your gut, go to a certain point with your gut, but then question your gut also, right? Ask yourself, is that actually true? Like you say, in his case, I would say to him, okay, I understand why maybe you would get this idea that the Epstein case was just meant to distract from the more lurid and more egregious things happening, like Pizzagate. But then ask yourself, when did we start hearing about Jeffrey Epstein? Was it in November of 2016 when Pizzagate broke? No, it was well before that. So there you go. Perfect example. And it's really anytime I hear like, oh, this is just in the news now. Why are we all talking about this when we should be talking about that? See, the media has done this. They've put this other story out there, and and it's all meant to distract from the story that they don't that was out there before that they don't want us to pay attention to. It's usually not that simple. It just is usually a little bit more complicated than that. And I don't, while there's plenty that's contrived and phony about the media, I think that particular line is something that should definitely be re-examined, to say the least. Now this is like a 2B part. What I just said was 2A. This is 2B, a sort of extension of what I was saying before, and that is like this tendency to be to just think, oh well, everything that we see is staged. Everything is staged. And for example, the debacle that took place in the White House with Zelensky, the argument that they had, that was just staged. They're really just acting behind the scenes. Again, there's this certainty. There's this like, oh, definitely. I know, because I'm going with my gut, and I know that it's all phony. Yeah, a lot of it is phony, but I don't think what we saw in the White House, this awkward argument that broke out, I don't think that was something that was scripted. And you know, I don't I don't see why one should just presume that to be the case. But I was just reading that over and over again. Oh, this is all scripted. This is all, you know, this was all planned beforehand. This is just professional wrestling. Um, you know, and to some, it goes as far as to say, well, so and so is just, his whole life is scripted. So everything this person does throughout his whole life, even when he appears to be this way, he's actually just when he says these things that appear to be, you know, taking a stand on this or that issue, he's really just doing that because he's reading off of a script. And, you know, the term lifetime actor comes up a lot. And what really annoys me about the lifetime actor thing is it's completely unverifiable. You know, it's sort of like, you have to take my word for it. That's what he's doing. You know, and that's not good enough. You have to have some evidence for it. You can't just say, well, this person, I can tell he's been put in this place to just be a lifetime actor, and to always say these particular, just to say the lines that he's given, and always following from a script, and so his entire identity is fabricated. You know, it's one thing to say that someone is being disingenuous about this, that, or the other thing, but to claim that an entire life is a fabrication, just seems unlikely to me. All right, third thing, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say now. There are probably some other things I could say, but this is just the last thing I can think of for right now is this. All right, now this one intersects with black pill thinking, so you know I have a hate hard on for it, because you know me, you know how much I hate black pill stuff. But this is one where basically what they say is, everything you see, you would never see anything unless it was what they meant for us to see. So, in other words, everything we're being shown, everything we're being told, is a deception. It's all a lie. And anyone who claims to come in and say, I'm exposing this and showing you the reality of things, the fact that they're being allowed to come in and show you the reality of the supposedly reality of things shows that that's just also part of the lie. And we would never hear the truth anywhere from anyone. You know, if it was truthful, it just wouldn't. It would never achieve any kind of prominence. People would never come to be acquainted with this idea or this notion if it were actually truthful. And so we're just being led around like blind rats in a maze, right? With you know, the smell of cheese, you know, luring us from one part of the maze to another part of the maze. And that's all we'll ever be, because the media, the government, everybody who has power, they just have full spectrum control and dominance over our minds. And so we shouldn't, you know, whatever they tell us, whatever we hear from any news source, if it's an alternative news source that's, you know, that's gotten successful, and that's getting a lot of eyes on it, well, that just shows that that's part of the whole op. You know, they're you know, if a bunch of people are paying attention to alternative news media now. That just shows that the alternative news media has been put out there to, to tell us lies. It's still the same. It's still backed by the same nefarious, evil, and all-powerful groups. So wherever you go to look for truth, if it's someplace that's conspicuous, then you're being told a lie. And I just, I don't know metaphysically what you have to believe to think that. You have to think somehow that truth is never allowed to get out. And even if you think that that mainstream media doesn't want the truth to get out, and I generally am sympathetic to that position, you have to what I and others think is that the mainstream media doesn't have the final say. That there are other forces out there, that it's things are always in flux, and it's not like the bad people have control of everything. The bad liars and evildoers and perverts and monsters are the ones who have control, and they'll always have control. And anytime someone gets on and says something that sounds truthful, that sounds like they're standing up to the agenda of the of the monstrous elite, that's just controlled opposition. And so basically we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to get anywhere. I don't know, you might as well just give up. And because the whole deck is stacked against you, and nobody truthful will ever be given a chance to come out there and come onto the scene and speak truth, right? Now, if you really think that, then what do you think about God, right? Do you think God plays no? If God is good, if God is on the side of truth, then do you just think that God never allows truth to get out there? That he just I don't know, that he just always retreats into the shadows and lets the bad guys win every single battle? You think that happens? If that's your religion, I want no part of it. And I don't think it's true. And I don't think it's reasonable. So that's the one I'll stop with. So maybe I'll have more to say a bit later, but we'll see.